Welcome back to Intuitive Vibes. Erica here with another one. So first and foremost, if you are new to the channel and you've managed to go through some of my content, if you find it to be informative, if you find it to be helpful in any way, shape, or form, please be sure to subscribe, as I do update my content often. And of course, to all of my returning subscribers, welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about body language of a manipulator, or someone who's just lying to you. And as an added bonus, we're going to give some of the features that you can recognize of a narcissist. It's going to be quite interesting, so stay tuned. Now, when you're having a conversation with someone, and oftentimes when you want to know the truth about something, depending on the tone, the setting of the environment, sometimes you can tell when someone is lying to you. You can tell when someone is manipulating you, but other times you can't. So how do you really know if what someone is telling you is the truth? Especially if you're not really an expert on body language, because someone can be saying one thing, their body can be saying something else, and you get confused. Well, believe it or not, people who are trying to deceive you, trying to manipulate you, trying to lie to you, they do have certain movements, certain things that they do, whether consciously or subconsciously, that will reveal if they are telling you the truth or not. Now, let's just keep one thing in mind. This is not all concrete. Reason I say this is because sometimes, depending on the setting, depending on the tone of the environment. Now, if someone's in a really stressful and agitated state, that can be them expressing emotions. If someone is extremely successful in manipulation, manipulative tactics, and just deceiving people, that they are so smart, they may not display these types of signs. So these are the things that you do have to look for. Now, there may be other cases and there may be other things, but these are the ones that I've, managed to find that a lot of us can resonate with, especially if we're in scenarios where we're trying to get the truth out of someone, but they're really not being forthcoming with it. So without further ado, we're just going to get right into it. Now, the first one is body cues. For example, with their hands. Now, you notice how when you have a conversation with someone and you are being forthcoming with honesty and you are expressing and you are speaking, just like I'm doing now as I'm explaining to you guys, liars generally do not use hand gestures while they're speaking. They do it after they have made their statement. Now, the reason being is because the mind is making up a story, or making up several different lies as it goes along. So as they are trying to pay attention to the lies that they're giving you, they're not really going to use hand gestures during the conversation. They're basically going to give the hand gesture afterwards. And that's a pretty logical sign, come to think of it, because you notice how when we have conversations, when we move around. Now, there was a study done in 2015 by the University of Michigan. Okay, and they were studying 120 clips of high-stake court cases. What they noticed was people who were sitting to testify, they noticed that people who were lying were using both hands to gesture, as opposed to those who were telling the truth. So approximately 40% of those people who were lying were using both hands, and only about 25% of the other people were actually telling the truth by just using one hand. So as the party is making the story as they go along, of course, under pressure, because you got to think about it. If you're sitting in a, witness stand, or you're testifying in a courtroom, there could be a lot of pressure, especially if you're about to lie. You are basically monologuing in a sense. You're trying to get the story out. So they're basically just doing all these antics to really, really try to convince the other party that they're telling the truth. And because they're being deceptive, they're trying to demonstrate a sense of emotions, in a sense, through their hands, that they are telling the truth. And dishonest people also tend to talk with their hand, their palms facing them. So this generally means I'm withholding information. This obviously means I'm willingly giving you information and I'm explaining what it is that I'm trying to explain to you. But this means I'm withholding. Oftentimes, if they're not doing this, they'll either put their hands in their pockets or even slide it under the table. So if they're trying to keep a good hold on their hands or maybe, hide their hands, that means they're being dishonest. The next one is fidgeting and itching. So you have people who fidget, and it could be because they're extremely nervous. So just keep that in mind. It could be someone who's extremely nervous because it's just their nerves, or it can be someone who's nervous because they're being deceptive. Oftentimes, for example, you have people who maybe the body movements, they tilt their head. I've learned that when someone tilts their head, for example, I'm going to give you an example. When someone's like, "Oh, those shoes look nice on you," you can really tell it's not genuine. It's not real. It's kind of like they're almost in a sense side-eyeing you. So when they're moving around, it's more the nervousness, and obviously the fidgeting, it's more the nervousness, and it could be due to the deception. Oftentimes their body is going to react to it. So when they're extremely nervous, see, what we have is what's called an autonomic nervous system, which is pretty much what regulates our bodily functions. And when there are fluctuations, for example, extreme nervousness, basically what happens is the extreme nervousness affects our nervous system. And whether it's just due to nervousness or deception, because sometimes, if people are having a guilty conscience, it can happen. The nervous system will basically give us a feeling like a tingling sensation or an itchy type of sensation. So you might want to look out for that too. So if someone is lying to you and they're getting like tingly or they're getting like itchy, that's pretty much their nervous system pretty much revealing to you what it is that their bodily functions are, what's going on within the body. So pay attention to that. Now the next one is facial cues. For instance, the eyes. Now we know that when someone's lying, they generally look away because they're trying to figure out the next thing to say as they're lying. Everybody's familiar with that. You must be lying to me. You're not even looking me dead in my eyes and telling me the truth. Well, that same study from Michigan University in 2015, they've also noticed that 70% of the people who were lying were looking directly in the eyes of the people that they were lying to. Now, mind you, this is research. This is studies. It's not concrete, but at the end of the day, if you really think about it, someone who is capable of being extremely manipulative and just lying blatantly is capable looking you in your face and lying to you. People are capable of doing that. You know that. I know that. So at these times, you have to really pay close attention, because I have heard, and I've actually been in scenarios where I could look someone in the eyes and they would just flat out lie to me and not even blink. So you have to look at a lot of different gestures. Another one is the mouth. Now, when someone is lying to you, they may do certain gestures with their mouth. Sometimes if they're basically fully rolling their lips in, for example, if they're doing this, that generally means that they are lying by omission. So people tend to think that because they're omitting certain things, that's not the same as lying. It's worse. If you're omitting information, it's way worse than lying. The person is generally holding back emotions or even facts, or if they're pursing their lips. So generally someone who is lying is when they purse their lips, they're pursing it something like this. That means instinctively, that just means I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm getting agitated and upset even just thinking about it, and I don't want to talk about it. That's the same as omitting. So if you ask someone a question and It can be on a very sensitive subject, or, it could be anything that you are just thinking, I'm asking you a question. When they're, that generally means that there's something going on, but they're really not going to be forthcoming about it. So that's just pretty much their natural reaction to it in that I'm not going to discuss it. The next one is change of complexion. So when someone has lied to you or is lying to you, and let's just say you caught on to it, or you're just asking questions, you're, investigating, so to speak. You've heard the term, they turned white as a ghost. But generally when someone's lying or someone has lied, their complexion, the reason it changes is because their blood is rushing out of their face. Because again, that nervous system is kicking in. And because of the fact, if, for example, you're confronting someone, you have an idea, but you want to be clear, crystal clear about it. They know they're lying to you. Their complexion is going to change. Another one is sweating or dryness. Complete sweating. We're talking excessive sweating or excessive dryness. So people who are lying or people who have lied, see, the nervous system triggers a liar's T-zone sweat areas. Okay, so we're talking, the forehead, the upper lip, around the mouth area, the chin, the nose area. This all starts to sweat. Or if there's excessive dryness, we're talking excessive dry mouth. Oftentimes they'll have really dry eyes, or they'll be squinting a lot, or blinking a lot, or biting their lip, or swallowing really hard. These are all gestures of someone being extremely nervous. So again, depending on the tone, if you are confronting someone and they've been caught on their shit, you're going to notice these types of things. But if the person is extremely skilled in manipulation, they may not have, they may lack empathy to the point where it doesn't happen. Then we have the high-pitched tones or sudden change of volume of tone. So the high-pitched tones happen usually when people are extremely nervous. And if you notice, like, their tone is just, the octane is just really, really high. You'll notice a creak in the vocal cords when they're speaking to you. That generally may be a signal of being dishonest. Or if the tone, the level of the tone of the voice goes from normal to extremely broad, that generally is defensiveness, as to where it can also signal dishonesty. Because if you're asking a simple question and the person is getting extremely defensive, or if they are basically creating higher levels of a tone to the point where they're almost not yelling, but they're extremely loud, that's another sign as well. The next one is content of speech. So when people start a conversation, or should I say when if you're confronting someone and they're saying, let me be honest with you, or honestly, I ... Basically what they're doing is they're trying a little too hard to convince you of their honesty. Okay, they're trying a little too hard to convince you that they are telling you the truth. Be careful with that. All right, be careful. I know sometimes we use the term honestly, it's like this, it's like that. I get it. Sometimes we do use that and we are telling the truth. But if you really strongly believe someone's lying, then yeah, you have to take that into account. Another set of words that they like to use are words like when they use those words to get ready to tell you the truth, they're using that's a sentence filler, because that's basically just buying them a little bit of time to figure out what it is they're going to say, what it is that they're going to lie to you about. They need a little time they weren't prepared for it. So they need a little time to, kind of get it out to you. And of course you have slip ups And you have people who are just not natural born liars. So every so often, they're going to slip up. They're going to basically say one thing and then stop themselves and say something else. So they'll say, oh, I was fired. No, I mean, I quit. Or I was out to dinner with so-and-so. No, wait, I was actually working late that night. You understand? A liar is a liar. And every so often, when someone is lying, when someone is deceiving you, they're going to slip up. And I truthfully believe, even if it's the most skilled manipulator, at some point, people who lie cannot really keep up with their lies. Their lies actually come back to them. And when you decide to question someone and you give them the benefit of the doubt, and let's say some time goes by and then you decide to ask them again, and if their story is not the same as from when they told you before, yeah, they're lying. But most manipulators will resort to gaslighting because they'll figure enough time has gone by and you're like, okay, you told me X, Y, and Z 2 years ago. Why is it A, B, and C now? And of course, with, gaslighting, they're going to tell you, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? I know what I told you, even though it happened 2 years ago, because they're going to be under the impression that you're not going to remember. And if you are one who believes in being honest and having truth, then, certain things stay in your mind. Certain things will poke out to you like a sore thumb. And don't get me wrong. People have lied. People lie. It's not that we don't. People have fibbed. But you really got to be on the lookout, especially when it comes to dealing with extremely toxic, manipulative people, because their forms of deception is not fibbing. It's not little white lies. We're talking severe deception. We're talking severe psychological abuse. And now, physical attributes that can possibly reveal that someone is narcissistic. Now, before I get into it, let's just get one thing straight. I know that we're not all narcissists, obviously. And yes, we do have a certain dosage of narcissism within us. That's what creates our ego. So just keep this in mind, just because you do take pride in your appearance and you do like to do nice things for yourself, pampering yourself, things to that effect, doesn't necessarily make you narcissistic. Okay. We do have doses, but we have healthy doses. And much like any other person, if you have a healthy dose on the spectrum, you also have unhealthy doses. So we're more focused on the ones who have the unhealthy doses as to where their ego has just really gone crazy. And just keep this in mind that this is all based on studies, people who actually do studies, perform studies on different personality disorders, different personality traits. But we know the basics when it comes to narcissists. They're very, very just embedded in their appearance, their physical appearance. They have to have, fashionable clothing. They have to have high-end products. They have to, and this is all to attract attention, because what do narcissistic people do? They try to maintain being the center of attention. So obviously, someone who is wearing a $2,000 bag, $1,000 shoes, and a $1,500 outfit. I mean, granted, yeah, they're buying all of these things, but they're really doing it to gain the attention. Another attribute you'll notice is they're highly tidy. They have an extremely organized way to themselves. They're perfectionists, so they have to be extremely up to par. A hair cannot be out of place. That's just the way it is. And like I said, we all like to make sure that our appearance is good, but narcissistic people go above and beyond it. Okay? They're very exploitative, I guess you could say. Do I want to use the word exploitative? I mean, they are exploitative people, because when it comes to pathological narcissism, they will exploit people, and they do it shamelessly. They don't have a problem with it, but they're very exposing. So they don't have an issue exposing certain attributes, again, to gain attention, to impress other people, because that attention fuels them, it feeds them. But there was another study done that I've just learned. University of Toronto did a study where now they can determine if someone is narcissistic based on their eyebrows. It sounds crazy, but as I was reading on it, they're basically stating that certain types of eyebrows that narcissistic people have compared to non-narcissistic people. Eyebrows, believe it or not, eyebrows have really had a come up over the past few years where people would just be beyond crazy with it. But according to them, narcissistic people have really good looking eyebrows. They are extremely groomed. They take very good care of them. Now, if you have really good eyebrows and you take care of your eyebrows, I'm not calling you narcissistic. This is just based on a study, okay? I have good eyebrows too, and I am so far from being a narcissist. And as superficial as it sounds, this study has gone on to say that people with distinctive eyebrows may display narcissistic traits. And I mean, it kind of makes sense because, eyebrows have made a come up over the past few years, and people, take that into account. They look at stuff like that. So, I mean, people of perfect eyebrows or distinctive eyebrows, I mean, that coupled with other facial features, I can understand it. I can. I mean, it sounds weird, If you want to check it yourselves, go ahead. You can check it online. I mean, it's it's eyebrows. You know what I'm saying? So it's just. But we're not going to take away from the fact that pathological narcissism is a serious issue. Okay, so I mean, just bear that in mind. That it's all superficial. It's all physical. We're not even. But it does help in maybe deciphering if you want to be a little bit more discerning when you're dealing with someone, especially someone who is more primarily focused on looks and how they look and their appearance and how they appear to the world compared to who they are as a genuine person. My thoughts on that. That's all I'm going to say. But guys, I'm going to call an end to this video. I do hope that you were able to get something out of it. I hope that don't go into your mirrors and start checking your eyebrows and get all paranoid with it. No, I'm not pointing people out. I'm just going based on what the study was saying. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will be speaking to you guys soon. Namaste.